That you say you're a loving person, well, that is evident in your actions. I can't tell you that. Your actions show who you really are, not who you say you are. For a Christian may be asleep and not know it. And if you're asleep, you probably do not know it. And sleepiness in Christians is very dangerous because we know when we're asleep, we can do many different things. You can speak when you're asleep. You can hear when you're asleep. You can walk around in your sleep. You can sing in your sleep. Some people even try to eat food when they're asleep. You can do many different things when you're asleep. What does your life actually produce? What are the fruit of your actions in your life? I know that I can say whatever I want to say. You can say whatever you want to say. You can say that you're kind. You can say that you're mean. You can say that you're calm. You can say that you're patient. I can say what I want to say. But the proof of who I am, the proof of who you are, is in your actions. The proof is in your fruit. But when push comes to shove, we'll show our true colors in our actions. Your fruit is evidence of who you are. Your fruit is evidence of who you are. And so that's why it's important that we watch what we eat. We know this physically, right? If I'm going to eat food and this food's good for me, my body is going to become healthy. It's going to strengthen my body when I eat fruits, when I eat foods that are good for me. And in the same way, I know that when I eat junk food, that's also going to be junk that my body has to live on and be sustained on and built up. And it's that same way spiritually. If I'm not eating foods that's good for me, it's that same way. And so your body, your fruit, is made up of what you eat and what you hunger for. And the fruit of your life is evidence of who you are. Your actions are evidence of who you are. We understand this physically, but that doesn't mean we always make the best choices. And it's that same way spiritually. And Paul in chapter 5 to the Ephesians, he's talking to them. And he says, you were once darkness. You were once darkness, and because you were darkness, you were taking part in the unfruitful works of darkness. That the fruit of your life was sin because you were a sinner. And it's interesting because Paul doesn't just say, hey, you were in darkness. He says you were darkness itself. You were darkness and your fruits were darkness. And Paul condemned those who practice fornication, uncleanness, and disobedience. But at the same time, he also recognized that Christians come out of the darkness. That Christians emerged from this darkness. That coming out from this darkness, we are to walk as children of the light. Paul says we were once darkness. Now walk as children of the light. Now if you're like me, you're probably thinking, okay, Paul calls us to walk as children of the light. Am I walking as a child of the light? What is the fruit of my life? How do I know if I'm walking in the light? How do I know that this morning? Well, in Ephesians verse 9 and 11 of that chapter 5, it talks about fruit. It talks about the fruit of light and the fruit of darkness. And we know when Paul's talking about fruit here, he's really talking about our actions, the things that we do. For we all have fruit. And your fruit is really an example of you. It's evidence of you and who you are and the things you do. It's almost like comparing us kind of to a tree. I know an apple tree, it's going to produce apples because that's what it is. It's an apple tree. And if I expected an apple tree to produce oranges, I would be crazy because it's not. It's an apple tree. That's what it's going to do. And so what the Word is saying here, and what Paul is speaking is, I can know you by your fruit. I can know who you are by your fruit. Your fruit will prove who you say you are, not what you say about yourself. The evidence of who you are is in your actions. So to determine if you're walking in the light, if we're children of the light, we simply just have to check our actions. We have to check our fruit. And this is what I believe this morning. We all believe we are awake and walking as children of the light. I believe that you believe, I believe, even people who are not Christians, we all think that we're good and we're doing things that are right, that we're not bad people, and that we're acting right. And even when I say this, you're probably pushing back against it. No, I'm awake. I'm walking as a child of light. And Paul is speaking in this word here to the Ephesians, speaking back and telling them, man, it's easy to be asleep and you might not even know it. You might be sleepwalking and you don't even know it. Paul here, he talks about darkness and being asleep, that we need to become exposed. See, the thing about being asleep is you don't know that you're asleep. We know we're awake when in the morning when we wake up, or when we wake up from our sleep. For as soon as you become aware of your sleep, then you are awake. It's evidence that now you are awake. And for something to be exposed first, it has to be hidden. But you wouldn't know if it's hidden because it's hidden. It's unseen. You don't know. And so the whole point of Paul's message, one of his main points that we usually miss it, is because we put a lot more faith in ourselves. We put a lot more faith in our willpower and our strength than I think that we should. For a Christian may be asleep and not know it. And if you're asleep, you probably do not know it. And sleepiness in Christians is very dangerous because we know when we're asleep, we can do many different things. You can speak when you're asleep. You can hear when you're asleep. You can walk around in your sleep. You can sing in your sleep. Some people even try to eat food when they're asleep. You can do many different things when you're asleep. But the Christian who is asleep doesn't really care about his neighbors, for he's asleep. The Christian doesn't really care. It's enough for the asleep Christian if they are comfortable, if they can attend a respectable place of worship and go with others to heaven. They're indifferent about most other things in life, for they are comfortable. Many people in the world think that they're good and they're awake, but they're spiritually asleep and they don't even know it. You may be asleep right now, and you don't even know it. You don't even know it. Well, darkness is the absence of light. And Paul talks here a lot about the darkness and the light. And darkness is the absence of light. When things are dark, it can bring about fear. It can bring about anxiety. And when it's dark, things are kind of fuzzy. They're hard to see. You may think, man, something's coming up. It's going to get me. And it's just like a cat walking by in the night or something. When it's dark, things can be misinterpreted. And functionally, darkness reduces our visibility, and it can increase risk-taking behavior. And it's similar spiritually. We read Proverbs 4:19 earlier, and I'll read this again for us. The way of the wicked is like deep darkness. They do not know what makes them stumble. They do not know what makes them stumble. So spiritually, I'm in darkness and I don't know what makes me stumble. I sin and I keep on sinning. And I don't even know why, and sometimes I don't even do it, but I keep doing it and stumbling around in the darkness. For in the darkness, you're more likely to do things in the darkness that you wouldn't do in the light, that I wouldn't do in the light. Come on, most people don't try to rob a house or rob a bank in broad daylight, right? But when it's darkness, when it's dark out, that's when these kind of things happen. And Paul said there, people do shameful things in secret. I have done shameful things in secret. You have likely done shameful things in secret. And one thing being in the darkness is that you believe no one sees you. That I can get away with it because it's in secret, because no one knows. No one's going to know about it. No one's going to find out. You can get away with it. Go ahead. Go ahead. Do it. There's things that we wouldn't do in front of others, but we would do in the darkness. So Paul talks about being exposed. And there's very much similarities between what he talks about in Ephesians 5 and Colossians previously as well. Talks about how the evil which captures us human hearts, but it not only captures our actions, but it also captures our words and our thoughts. That the things that we think, the words, our hearts, we're full being, and all of us matters. All of us matters. All of us matters. But we don't just talk about darkness here, we also talk about light. I'm going to read Proverbs 4:18 for us, the other half of it. The path of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter till the full light of day. Well, the light allows us to see our surroundings. While darkness may dim it, light allows us to see our surroundings. It allows us to see things clearly. Without light, we wouldn't really be able to see. But light doesn't only allow us to see, it also acts as an energy source. Without light, most living beings wouldn't really have energy. Light also regulates our sleep cycles. It keeps us warm. And it's similar spiritually as well. Jesus is the way and the truth and the life. And as we talked about last week, Jesus is the source. Jesus is the source of all light. And so Paul calls us to walk as children of the light. For the fruit of the light is found in all that is good and true. Try to find out what is pleasing to the Lord. We're called to walk as children of the light. Now, walking is a lot easier compared to running or jogging or hurrying or work. Walking's much more simpler. Walking is more about the destination. Walking is more about the journey than arriving at some place. When I'm walking, I can look around, I can talk with other people, I can be aware of my surroundings. And when I take my dog on a walk, usually in the mornings or the evenings, the point of the walk is to go on a walk. The point really isn't to do something or achieve something, but just to walk. And Paul calls us to walk as children of the light. So what's the fruit of your life? What fruit does your life actually produce? Are you awake to God? Are you walking as a child of the light? I know that you can say and think whatever you want. I can say and think whatever I want. But it's clear who I am by the fruit of my life. At least that's the word of Paul. That's what Paul is saying here. It's about the fruit of our life. And I love talking about this because it's so freeing and it's so convicting. It's clear it's not my words or your words. And Jesus gives us a clear example so that each of us can know whether we're living as we claim to live. My guess is all who are pretty much going to hear my words, whether here now in person or online, are going to be a Christian. And we all claim to believe. We all claim to believe. And Jesus talks so much about our fruit and our actions, and as we walk through the Word, the point of this truly is to know where I stand, to know if I'm awake or know if I'm asleep. That I can't say, man, I'm a fig tree, but I'm producing grapes. That you say you're a loving person, well, that is evident in your actions. I can't tell you that. Your actions show who you really are, not who you say you are. And what I think is so amazing about God, and the point is, if you're honest with yourself, I know as I am, I'm convicted by my fruit. I'm convicted by my actions. You're thinking at this point, man, how can I change my fruit? How can I do better? Because I want to walk as a child of the light. I want to be pleasing to the Lord. But the truth is, an apple tree produces apples, not because it chooses to, but because it's an apple tree. And we sin because we are sinners. And in the words of Paul here, you are a sinner. It's only natural that you sin, for that's who you are. You are in darkness, and so you did the things of darkness. No matter how hard you try, you're going to keep coming back to your sin because it's your nature. It's your nature to sin, and so you sin. And so Paul says to the Ephesians, you are darkness and doing deeds of darkness. But the good news this morning is that your fruit doesn't save you. Your actions don't save you, but Christ saves you. It isn't any work you did. It isn't any fruit you planted. It's what Christ did. And because of what Christ did and who Christ is, Christ can begin to change our very nature. That who I was a sinner can slowly begin to change. That I can change from a sinner to a Christian. That I can change. And it isn't any righteous perfection or fruit I did. That those who are weighed down by heavy perfection, that those who feel like, man, their sin is so overwhelming, Christ is enough. And so really the whole point of checking our fruit, seeing if I'm awake or asleep, is to check your allegiance, to check my allegiance. I find out in my fruit, is my allegiance really to myself and my sin, or is my allegiance to Christ? Your fruit reveals your allegiance. And those who are in the light have the fruit of the light because they're in the light, because they are light. And this isn't a work of ourselves so that we boast, but it's a gift from God. It's a gift from God. That in the Lord, because of God, you are light. It's good news because it's simply you being vulnerable to God, opening yourself up to God, receiving the free gift from God. And God begins to change your heart, but change your mind. And your fruit slowly begins to change because your fruit just shows who you are. And those who are light do the deeds, the actions of the light. Children of the light act in the way of light. The fruit only shows who you are. Jesus will begin to change your very nature. Jesus will redeem you. Jesus will begin to sanctify you and regenerate you and bring you into new life. Day by day, Jesus will begin to change your very nature. That you who were once darkness are now light. Hallelujah. Glory to God. That's good news. That those who are exposed by the light becomes visible. That everything that becomes visible becomes light. Man, and I hope you want to become a child of the light. This is the truth about darkness and about being asleep. You don't know you are darkness. You don't know you're asleep. You're just good with your normal. But being exposed is the uncovering of something. You may have covered up something in your life and you don't even realize it, but maybe it's hitting you now. In the darkness, everything is dark and it's hard to see. But I can know you by your fruit. I can know you by your actions and see who you are. You can say that you are good. You can say that you're bad. You can say that you're calm. You can say that you're angry. But who you are is proved in your actions. So would you wake up this morning? Would you be vulnerable to Christ and real with where you are? Real with the fruit of your life? Because I'm telling you, it'll change everything to open yourself up to Christ. And I'd like to begin to end by returning to Proverbs 4. Probably my favorite verse in Proverbs, and I love Proverbs. Proverbs 4:18. The path of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter till the full light of day. The path of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter till the full light of day. This is the path of the righteous. This is the path I want to be on. This is the path I hope you want to be on. And it's such good news because as I'm on the path day by day, week by week, year by year, I'm stepping more into the light of God. That as I begin to walk on this path, I'm stepping more. God's light shining more in my life. God's doing more of a work in me. That come full light of day, that when I pass or when Christ returns, I will be complete. And all that's needed is to be on this path of righteousness, to just stay on the path, be committed to walking and to growing. That I'm right where I need to be. I'm right where I need to be. Will you join me on this path? Would you commit to being exposed, vulnerable to God? To wake up and live life to the fullest? And maybe you can say, Gage, I'm on that path. If you're on that path, would you continue to walk in that path, to stand firm, to not let any cares of the life lull you to sleep? You forget the fear of the Lord. Who you are is evident in your actions. It's evident in your fruit. You can say whatever you want to say, but it's only proved by your actions. When you walk in darkness, your life produces the fruits of darkness. And when you walk in the light, your life begins to produce the fruit of life. And there's no better time than today than to walk into the light, to start walking today.